Endless delves around the corner and you have no idea what builds are good for endless delving? Don't worry, today I got you covered. Hey, I'm Cyclon and today I wanted to share with you my top picks for endless delve builds that should enable you to have a very smooth and fast delving experience. But before we're going to take a look at the builds, first, what are the important factors for the builds for endless delving? Well, they should have no real gear requirements and no unique requirements except the starting uniques, because we are in an environment that is SSF, so no trading. We also don't have access to the crafting bench. We don't have access to the atlas, so for crafting we have basic crafting, we have fossil crafting, and we have limited essences. Outside of that, there's not really crafting, so we need to make do with what we find and what we can craft in a very simple deterministic way. On top of that, we need a really good survivability for the build, with just having access to mostly the Atlas tree and then a tiny bit on the gear. We need a good clear and we need a decent single target, so if we do encounter a Delve boss, we're able to kill the Delve boss and get the unique from the Delve boss. With those factors out of the way, there aren't that many builds that are going to excel at Delve. And the first one of the builds that are really good is the Detonate Dead Elementalist, the winning build of the last Delve event, the Endless Delve event. The reason Detonate Dead Elementalist was that good is the starting unique Ashes of the Sun. We are guaranteed to get access to this unique by just making a build character that gets it as a starting unique, put it in the stash, make an Elementalist and get access to it. And the reason this unique is that good is this specific line, 500% increased ignite duration on enemies. The reason this is powerful is that we can utilize it in two different ways. We can utilize it for ignite proliferation, allowing the Detonate Dead Elementalist to just kill one enemy, and the ignite proliferation of that enemy spreads to all other enemies, and because the huge duration, the ignite stays on the corpse for quite a bit. Now on top of that, we can also use Swift Affliction to take the ignite damage, first stretch it with the duration, and then take the now overall increased total ignite damage and squish it in a shorter duration with faster ignite dealing faster damage, or taking down faster, and Swift Affliction taking less time, so applying faster. We have all the damage, stretching it first to take longer, so we know to stay longer, and then we squish the now overall damage in a shorter duration, which makes it really powerful. On top of that, it's also scaling damage, because Detonate Dead deals percentage damage based on the corpse. We can now say, alright, the corpses at, let's say, Delve level 3 at Delve Death 300 have 100% more life, and at 600, 300% more life. That means the tankiness of the enemy scales with our damage, because of the percentage damage, allowing this to have a kind of static difficulty for the damage part. The only thing we need to be careful is not getting killed, because our survivability is the one thing that is not scaling with the Delve Death. We do have a very good, fairly good armor. We have a high block, divine shield, and okay energy shield pool. We have golems and we have a high life pool. So overall, this build has good survivability. It's just not going to have the best survivability once you're at like a Delve Death 1000 or higher. However, the goal is to get to 600 fast, and I think for getting 600 and to get for any level after that that you want to try to get to, this build will be the best one to go as deep as possible. Now it's going to utilize Shield Shot for mobility, and it will level, I recommend to level at least with Stormblast Bite or Storms. Once you're level 28 you can move to Armor Brand and Cremation, and finally you can switch to Detonate Dead once you're about your third ascendancy, and then just start detonating everything. Now, if you're interested in this build, I'm going to leave a passive building in the description. Feel free to take that. Or if you're more a hardcore player and want to die as few times as possible, maybe check out Soulrend. I know that he always has a good Detonate Dead guide out there. That Detonate Dead Elementalist out of the way, let's take a look at three more, well, not specifically newer build, but more fresh builds for endless delving. The first one being the Boneshatter Slayer. He has a very high armor, a good evasion, absorb life leech and overleech, fortify, and can have access to maximum resistance on the tree. Has a fairly good clear with using Ancestral Call, has a high single target utilizing Impale. Utilizing Leap Slam, meaning that the movement from one node to the other one is going to be super fast, because it just jumps jump, jump, and it's the next node, clears the enemies on the node, and then continues to jump further. Just a really fun playstyle personally. And it does level with Spectral Helix and can later transition into Boneshatter once you're at your first Ascendancy and have the Impact Ascendancy. Now, the Boneshatter Slayer I think is really good for going to 600 and further again. It's going to be harder to go down further compared to Detonate Dead, but I think it should be faster to 600. So it should have an easier time getting to a deeper level and then going to fall off once Detonate Dead starts to get really good. Boneshatter is going to start falling off. But overall, a really good and solid pick for Endless Delve. Now, I think Zizran and Tripolar Bear both have really good Boneshatter Slayer guides. I think Zizran's again more focused on hardcore, while Tripolar Bear more focused on softcore. Alright, before we're going to take a look at the next build, which I think is the best for pushing 600 very fast, just want to let you know that I would really appreciate some feedback for this kind of videos. I'm trying to try this where I'm going into a league or into a scenario, what is the currently best known build or best known strategy, so that you have the best information available to make your choice for what build and what strategy you want to go with based on your preferred playstyle. Alright, that out of the way, let's take a look at the next build. The Essence Drain Contagion or Soulrend Trickster. Now, we want to either use Essence Drain Contagion or Soulrend. And the reason we want to use either is Soulrend is very, very powerful as long as we can just kill instant enemies with it. They're not going to reach us, we have a good amount of clear because we just fire them in front of us, they're going to clear everything. It's really powerful. And once Soulrend doesn't one-shot enemies anymore, we can swap to Essence Drain Contagion and become almost unkillable. It has a very high evasion and a good energy shield pool, which we should be able to be permanently recovering. It has 100% spell suppression, and it has absurd life recovery on top of that. Because of Essence Drain, if the enemies don't die quickly, means there are a ton of enemies affected by Essence Drain, so recovery is going to be something like, can be 10, 20 or even more k. The highest I've seen Essence Drain to take was like 80k recovery per second, which is absolutely insane. On top of that, because of the contagion part or because of the Soulrend part, it has very good clear and we can have a decent single target with Blight, allowing us to kill any boss up to death level 600 with very easily. And it does use the 2-button playstyle sadly when we are on the Essence Drain Contagion, so the Essence Drain Contagion part might not be for anybody. But for those that don't mind that, the Soulrend into Essence Drain Contagion once it gets harder is a very powerful build. And to top it all off, it doesn't even need a 6-link, which makes this even more insane. As long as we can find an Essence of Delirium and a glove that we can use as a base, we have a perfectly good 5-link that can rival 6 links because of the gem restriction on Essence Drain and Soulrend and us being unlikely to find an Empower. All that together makes this build a very powerful pusher to delve level 600. Now, you can either use no mobility skill, you can use shield charge, you can use phase run, you can use smoke mine, you can you have a lot of available mobility skills. However, I personally think just using either phase run on just a quartz flask and walking will be the best way for playing the Trickster. It can level as ED Contagion plus Blight, or it can level as Soulrend. It can early take Toxic Rain. You have also a lot of free roam in the leveling department. And if you find this build interesting, I'm going to also leave a passive building in the description, which is what I think is going to be the best way to level it. It contains leveling trees, it contains the skill gem setups, and it contains an example gear. Alright, now the final build. I think you can already see coming what it is. It's a Poisonous Concoction Pathfinder. I mean, at this point it's pretty known. It is very fast early on. There is no gear requirement. It has a super high evasion, a good armor, spell suppression, life recovery, has siege. It has poison proliferation. It has plague barrier. It has very good clear. It has shield charge for fast mobility. It's just a really good starting build, and it doesn't change in delve. You can be very fast. If you don't want to push to level 600 or delve death 600, or even further, you just want to get a very specific level very quickly, I think this is a perfect build. It is very powerful if you just want a specific level very quickly, because you can just go to a depth that you can clear comfortable and then just go sideways to get your experience. And it can level as Poisonous Concoction. It's just a really good, really powerful build. And it's going to be my pick for Endless Delving, because I'm not going to be pushing to 600. I'm just going to get likely level 70 or 80 and enjoy Endless Delving for a bit. Now, as like last time, Pulsteron I think has the best build guide for this out there. All that being said, I think now whatever you go for Endless Delving is, you are perfectly set up to achieve it. And with all that being said, goodbye, have a great day, and a lot of fun in Endless Delve.